Well, no, it's not a lot of assumptions. You're in favor of militarily occupying foreign countries to uh, and perpetuating conflicts in foreign countries in order to maintain U.S. imperial power, and people live in those other countries and don't necessarily want us there. And you're in favor of this despite the fact that there are better ways of doing imperialism that don't directly harm people like that. Um, and I'm not entirely sure why. You wouldn't call having a military presence in foreign countries occupying them? You wouldn't call it that? You would you wouldn't say that that has an influence? Then why are we there? Why can't we just pull out? Well, they might not necessarily want us there militarily. They might want economic investment from us. It's a very different want. So I would argue that probably they're more interested in the economic investment of the United States, less interested in the military bases that don't necessarily contribute to much. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are a lot of people in Japan and South Korea that don't like our military bases there. Well, it's not always true, but it is true in a lot of cases. Like there are a lot of bases in Africa that are defended by local troops. Those local troops aren't willing to die to protect American military bases that they have no investment in. That's why they run away whenever there's like a dangerous situation that happens. I generally think that if America had military bases across it from a foreign country, Americans would fucking hate that country. The reason you say it's not a big deal to you is because we live in America, the country that's doing these things. Yeah, do they have British troops in Canada to project British power? Is that a thing? Oh, by the way, I just looked this up because I was curious because what you said sounded weird. The reason there are British Army people in Canada is because they use it as a large training ground. There's a diplomatic deal between those two nations, which is different than having a military base where they're using to project military power and influence your country. Um, I mean, but William of Orange, your argument is simultaneously that we need those military troops to guard against China, while simultaneously saying that they are doing imperialism, which they are. Um, and it seems to be they're doing it better than us because they aren't wasting money on military troops uh, in foreign countries. That costs a lot of money to keep up. Um, and it seems like maybe their way of going about it is better. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not. I guess I'm not really sure. Like you're in favor of U.S. imperialism, but you're in favor of doing it more poorly than a less militarily built up country. That doesn't make sense to me. Well, but it's like, what do our troops do to stop what China's doing? Like, you fight economic imperialism with economic imperialism, and troops aren't going to stop that. And also, imperialism's bad anyway, so we should just have diplomatic relations with China and try and agree on a way that we can both invest in Africa in a way that isn't a negative effect on the invested in countries. Well, even look at the Middle East, though. Do we have to? Like, William of Orange, this is what diplomats do. You realize, like, diplomats do things, right? Like, diplomats serve a purpose. Like, why should they invest in Africa? Well, they're investing in Africa because Africa is undergoing a huge economic boom and will be one of the leading economic forces in the world in the future. Like, that's like they're just starting to recover from the colonial imperialism era, and when they do, places like Nigeria are going to be some of the wealthiest places on earth. So, like, that's why you invest in them now, because you help them achieve that, and they're going to be your ally through thick and thin. Like that's why China invests in these countries, because investing in them means that they're going to have strong allies all across the continent of Africa. Whereas we're relying on very short term diplomatic gains by having military posts. Yeah, exact. Century Dish gets it. Generally, it seems China invests in infrastructure as a form of neocolonialism. It's probably going to reap rewards later down the line. The same cannot be said for the money drain of a military base. It's a basic idea, but it works. This isn't like some kumbaya, like hippy dippy bullshit. It's like literally just long term diplomacy. But I guess William of Orange, I understand why that might be a hard concept for you to wrap your head around as a conservative, because conservatives tend to be in favor of short term solutions. Well, you can look at the effectiveness of the Marshall Plan, William of Orange. The Marshall Plan rebuilt most of Europe, and now most of Europe are some of our biggest allies in all of the world. So, yeah, we rebuilt countries after World War II, and now they've been allies for like the next 100 years. Pretty effective. No, they weren't naturally our allies before that. Countries aren't naturally anything. Like, we literally fought against Germany and Italy and Spain. Like, what are you talking about? We fought against Germany twice in world wars. Oh, I mean, true, Spain was technically non-aligned in World War II. Sorry, still fascist in during World War II. Y'all are on some crazy, crazy shenanigans. I like you realize like the United States rebuilding much of Europe and Japan is part of the reason why like we had our own economic boom after World War II. Like Germany was not our ally prior to World War II. We literally helped force them sign the Treaty of Versailles, which caused their democratic republic to collapse under economic shock. They weren't our allies. And Japan definitely wasn't our ally. Yeah, we were only allies with half of Germany after World War II because it got split by the Allied powers. Yeah, you understand that the Marshall Plan was a way of economically subjugating foreign countries to American imperialism. That's why partly they're such good allies today and our economies are so tightly intertwined. It's because of the Marshall Plan and the way we rebuilt Europe. And yeah, Japan was completely subjugated while our companies helped rebuild it. That's like rebuilding countries destroyed by war helps to build better relationships in the future. Japan is one of our big allies in the world, and we literally dropped the only two nuclear weapons in existence, or in ever dropped on top of them. Done randomly, you may always suggest anything for the stream. Can you have some music going on? Oh yeah, we can have some music going on. Didn't think about that. Good idea. Is that a good is this a good volume? Oh, this is all royalty free music. A little bit loud? Alright, I can turn it down a little bit more. How's that? So how could the USA become allied with China without China overtaking them economically? Well, I mean, Amber Leaf, like, China will overtake the United States economically. It's literally only a matter of time, and it's largely because they have a much larger population than we do. And they're only still in the beginning processes, really, of industrializing their entire country, which, yeah, I would argue that I would argue that the issue is less, um, keeping them from overtaking us, and rather maintaining our relevance in the economic future of the world. Which is why, by the way, I argue for the United States to invest in green energy, which is what Joe Biden wants us to do. Um, like investing in green energy, if we don't do that, only opens the door for China to invest in that, which will put them further ahead when the world inevitably turns to green fuel for the majority of our power production. So, yeah, why should we give up that lead to China when it could instead be a valuable asset going forward that we could use in trade negotiations, for example? Um, The USA has $22 trillion in debt. Yeah, but that debt is also based on the US dollar. So that that's part of what puts the United States in a very unique position because we can literally print money. Our debt, in a sense, is entirely socially constructed. I agree that it's definitely an issue, but I also think that people on the left tend to be much better for the economy. And I think you can see that between just this conversation between William of Orange and I. Like, William of Orange is is a conservative in favor of wasting money on our old school imperialist, tactics. I'm in favor of saving us money to do more effective things. And that just so coincides with doing a lot of things that are beneficial for the working class. I'm in favor of smart reforms that change things and make our society more equitable and good. We owe foreign countries billions, if not trillions. If we just print money, the value of our money will be like the yin in China. Well, yeah, I'm not advocating for us to print our way out of the problem. I'm advocating more for this idea that our national debt is a very serious concern when conservatives are willing to give trillions of dollars to rich people for no benefit. I would rather use trillions of dollars for benefit. Like, it's pretty reasonable there. Yeah, I mean, William of Orange, part of it is a lot of your policies you say are encouraging negative freedom, but, in reality, you're actually taking freedom away from a lot of people on, a just lower economic class than you. Which I don't think is great. Well, yeah, freedom is your ability to do things. And in a capitalist society, your freedom directly correlates to how much money you have. How much wealth you possess. It's why the rich can do more things than poor people can. I mean, it's not a big assumption. If, as conservatives have successfully argued in court, money is speech, then rich people literally have more speech than poor people. Well, actually, yeah, freedom would be the ability to fuck Angelina Jolie. Yeah, that would be a way in which someone is free. Well, no. Socialism isn't predicated on people having no money or freedom. Socialism is actually on maximizing the amount of freedom people have. Well, Angelina Jolie has a say in the matter too, I imagine. Well, no, there's not any inherent process in socialism that means no one has money. True, why would you want to fuck anyway? No, no, I get your point, William of Orange. Your point is anyone can become Jeff Bezos. So my question is, why aren't you Jeff Bezos? Unless you are, in which case, you definitely should subscribe to my stream. Well, but there are plenty of things. So what? I guess I'm curious. Like, what would you say your freedom means to you then? If it isn't, if freedom has no correlation to how wealth can constrain your ability to do things, then what exactly is your freedom? Yeah, but why would you want to live in a society where people are like technically all societies are free in that way? Like, I don't get it. Like, you can in a monarchy, you can try to become a noble. You can try to do something. You can do that in any kind of political system. Sure, you can try and criticize the monarch. No one's stopping you from trying to criticize the monarch. And then the government jails you. Well, but you were free to try. And besides, maybe it's a monarchy where you are free to criticize without being sent to jail. Well, I know what you mean. I just know that your point is bad. Like, you're free to try a lot of things in the United States too, but they would also have bad consequences for you. Or not work. Like, it's kind of like saying you're free to become Jeff Bezos in the United States. Sure, but the reality is that, like, you trying to, what, turn a burger flipping job into 80 bajillion dollars a year? The reality is that's not going to happen. Yeah, but the issue is that the economy is specifically set up so that you can't succeed. Like that's part of capitalism is predicated on making sure that there is a class of people who is always available to do the work. So there are other forces that are keeping you in place. It's just not as obvious as the guards of the monarch coming to throw you in prison. Instead, it'll be the debt collectors who come to take all your stuff and evict you from your house, making you homeless. I mean, it's a different system, but the reality is still the same. I mean, yeah, I think fundamentally I'm against hierarchy, but I would prefer to address very simple things, like, you know, giving workers control over their workplaces via democratic systems, or decommodifying certain things like housing, food, healthcare, things like that. I mean, if it's functionally the same, William of Orange, if it's functionally the same, then in my opinion, it's pretty much the same, and you're just splitting hairs about it. Why not? Under that monarch system, certain rights and privileges were given to the rich and powerful under monarchy, where they would be able to get away with criticizing the monarch. Why don't you under a monarchist system, why don't you just become rich and powerful so you can criticize the monarch? You're free to criticize the monarch if you achieve a certain level of prosperity. Why are you deciding to be poor under a monarchist society? Yeah, everyone can do that. That is one way in which we are more free than a monarchist society. But there are other ways in which we are not free under our current system. And I would like to address those ways that we're not free, whereas you are comfortable with how we are not free under that system. And you're comfortable with it because the ways the system enforces that deficit of freedom is via economic means. And I don't think that that's very fair or good, and I would like to improve society somewhat. Oh yeah, B453D. By the way, welcome to the chat. I appreciate you very much. And B, yeah, I mean, I would like, even more than a worker being on the board of directors, I would like companies to be worker co-ops. I think that those are generally more efficient and better for the economy and the workers and basically everyone involved. Oh yeah, like I'm not saying snap your fingers and make everything a worker co-op instantaneously. I advocate for Bernie Sanders actually proposed a policy where anytime a company would want to sell, if they're a private company, they would first have to offer the company to their worker collective. Like the workers would be able to collectively purchase the company. I think that would be a good idea. And I'm also in favor of making it easier to start worker co-ops. Oh, nice. Jose Scranton, stop being obtuse. Don't troll the new people, you'll scare them away. Wait, William of Orange, I'm being unfair. I'm being unfair by criticizing the system that keeps people economically subservient. Okay, sure. Yeah. I just have a problem with it when it's economically enforced rather than, No, but like that's your issue. Your issue is you have a problem with it when it's physical men coming to your house, but you don't have a problem with it when it's economics forcing you to do things. Jose of Scranton, you're not a fascist. Shut the fuck up. But you like I don't know, the International Monetary Fund enforces economic policies on African countries all the time. And that's not good. It's a way of forcing countries to do things. It's a way of affecting policy. So you're effectively taking freedom away from people. And if you can do that on a large scale via the IMF, you can also do it on a smaller scale via corporations. Yeah, exactly. The IMF is bad, and so is capitalist exploitation on a small scale as well. And that capitalist exploitation affects what sort of freedom you have in our society, and that's bad. I'm not against market systems either. That's why I advocate for market socialism. I just think that there are certain things that should be decommodified because there are perversions to incentive in them. For example, like healthcare. What wouldn't someone pay you to save their life? I think we should decommodify that. A simple argument on my part, I think. Real talk, bankers in the UK are looking to Marx's observation, Das Kapital. Yeah, I mean, a lot of Marx writing was pro-capitalism. That's, like, something a lot of people don't understand about Marx was that Marx was indeed pro-capitalism as a way to transition away from feudalism. And his ideas were theorizing about what comes after capitalism, and that is socialism. And I think that that's great. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see, do you think of that getting rid of economic incentive from medicine can come at a cost of health? I mean, I think that there are ways that you can go about decommodifying healthcare while still incentivizing innovations to medicine. Well, for example, most innovations don't necessarily come from, like, companies, right? They come from workers. Um, the government can pay people to work to develop medicines. It's not rocket science. And even if it was rocket science, the government excels at rocket science too. We literally put a man on the men on the moons in the 1960s using our nationalized socialist rocket science. And also, like, William of Orange, you're also in favor of things like the military, which is a large, collectively government-run institution. Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever you want to call it, a triumph of nationalism or whatever, our government was able to do something in science very, very well. And you know what? If we can put a man on the moon in the 1960s, I have some faith in our government to be able to pay scientists and researchers to be able to live comfortable lives and do research that will save millions of people. Yeah, I mean, I you're almost there, William of Orange. You've almost recognized that nationalism is not good. Being a patriot is good. I'm a patriot. I want the best for my fellow citizens. But I guess you've been in favor of all of the policies that I've proposed that would benefit people in the United States. So I'm not really sure how you think our nation is great. Um, when there are definite ways we could easily improve it. Water's good. Yeah, Orban. We talked a little bit about Orban. A definite fascist. Well, but how, like, your arguments against my positions have been that the argument that you only support negative liberty rather than positive liberty. That was your argument against my proposed changes like decommodifying housing, any of the policies that I've proposed are all improving our country. Did I know the McFlurry spoon from McDonald's is the top end will fit a half-inch impact gun? What? I don't know what that means, to be 100% honest with you. Oh yeah, I know you weren't saying that you agree with my position. Um, yeah, I mean it's just like yeah, I want better for my countrymen, and apparently you don't, which I guess makes me a better patriot than you. I love this country more, and we can do better. Unless you just love the idea of our country and don't necessarily love the people that live here. In which case, I guess you love the fantasy of the place you live in? Yeah, Ardern seems pretty cool. I don't know a whole lot about New Zealand's government. I know that there are issues when it comes to like how New Zealand has historically treated native people, but it seems like heads and shoulders better than how Australia handles things. No, I just don't take such a short-term view. Well, no, William of Orange, you actually do take a short-term view. Like, all of the long-term things that I've proposed, you've, like, just waved aside as being hippy-dippy bullshit. When all of my positions are backed up by science and data. Meanwhile, you're just like, no, it doesn't work, out of hand, because you don't think it will work, despite me having evidence for my positions. If we want to cede infinite power to the... Well, you don't cede infinite power to the government in market socialism. That's one misconception. Um, so, yeah. Well, you said you don't take such a short-term view. If we want to cede infinite power to the government, it will eventually come at a cost no matter how temporarily happy it makes us. And my positions aren't what makes us temporarily happy. My positions are what is more efficient and effective over the long term. And those things are what I propose. Long-term solutions. And repeatedly, like, you've said it's hippy-dippy bullshit to, like, house the homeless, for example, despite the fact that it's a net benefit to economies that do so. You've said, engaging in international relations by building up other countries is hippy-dippy bullshit, despite the fact that it has historically worked quite well for us. And you insist that we need to have military outposts in foreign countries, wasting hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars for no reason. To counteract Chinese imperialism, despite the fact that having soldiers in a place does not prevent China from investing in it. Yeah, like, no, your positions are entirely inconsistent with one another. See, the thing with authoritarianism is it's very transactional. You give me a little freedom, I'll keep you safe. Eventually, you'll spend more than you have. Well, I'm paraphrasing your ideas when it comes to hippy dippy bullshit. Um, but I'm expanding your refusal to consider long term solutions to encompass a lot of your other beliefs because it seemed like you were disagreeing with me for not very good reasons. Well, you didn't use those exact words. That's true. It's true. I was paraphrasing. It's true. Oh, I mean, I think you did say something about, rebuilding countries or investing in infrastructure being some kind of, like, hippie pipe dream or whatever, but it's true, you've been very cordial. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, my positions are pretty solidly backed up by science, and I I think that we should pursue good ideas that make us more efficient and strengthen our economy and improve the lives of people in our country. Yeah, I mean, you'll have to forgive some of my viewers for attacking your political predilection because a lot of conservatives in who exist out there in the world would like to like strip them of like voting rights or human rights in general, and I understand how that could engender some antipathy. But what does that mean? That's what I'm worried about. Like, if you get what you want and give the government the power necessary to get what you want, imagine if we win. Well, if I get what I want and the government does what I want, like if I could just make the government do those things, um, like if I could make the government do those things, I think it would genuinely improve society quite a bit. I don't think it would solve all of our problems, and I don't think it would give the government complete control over our lives. Um, but I would also, if the government is going to have power, I guess I would rather have the government having control over my life rather than a private company, which private companies have a lot more control over my life right now, and I find that much more scary. Uh, Imagine giving the government the power necessary to get what you want. What if conservatives had that power? Well, I think conservatives would use that power to make a fascist state. But I think that that's why my economic policy is not a Thanos snap that instantly changes the world. My policies are slow and controlled systems that we are able to build upon as we go along. So, like, okay, so you want to give the government enough power to create a fascist state? Well, William of Orange, our government right now has enough power to become a fascist state. Quite easily. Quite easily. Like, yeah, the government already has that power. But my positions are basically predicated on the belief that there would be no incentive to turn to fascism in a society where things like housing are provided, even if you're not doing well economically. Electricity, food, basic food supplies, internet connection, all the things you need to live in a modern society are provided at a decommodified rate. So I think all of those things would take away the incentive that fascism currently has, which is fear-mongering about the other, and the other taking away economic prosperity. Yeah, and yes, Donald Trump is a fascist. I'm not going to go over that again. I've literally talked about it many, many times. If you look at any academic standard of what constitutes fascism, Trump checks all of the boxes. We literally watched side by side yesterday a 1947 short film about fascism produced by the U.S. Department of War, and watched it side by side with a Trump rally. And the rhetoric used by the fascists in that propaganda video is almost identical to what Donald Trump talks about in his rallies. It's not fear-mongering. It can happen here, and Donald Trump is a fascist, largely that has been, up to this point, constrained by our different systems of government. However, I believe if he wins another term in office, those constraints will be shown to not matter in the slightest, and we will truly see a fascist regime in the United States. I mean, it's not... William of Orange, you seem like a smart person who might actually look this up. I encourage you, go look up Umberto Eco's 14 Points of Fascism, or look up one of the several videos that I've done on my Twitch on it. No, Donald Trump is a fascist. It's not fear-mongering, it's not pure fantasy, it's reality. Could someone spell fascism? Oh, Umberto Eco? Yeah. I'll post a couple links here, just to my videos about fascism, because, good golly, I have several of them. Heck yeah, done randomly. Funky beats. This song is Mega Man 9 Lights Out from Overclocked Remix by the artist Superior X. Yeah. Overclocked Remix, by the way, super based website. You can go there and download a ton of music for free by people who make video game remixes. And they're super talented and great musicians. Ba-da-ba-ba-da, ba-da. Oh, I mean, I don't think Overclocked Remix has a streaming license for it. Um, like, Overclocked Remix doesn't have copyright claims on their music because, well, most of their music, because it's video game remixes. They don't own the rights to these songs. William of Orange, I agreed to a certain extent, which is why I advocate for slow and incremental change that brings us to a point of socialism, preferably market socialism. Oh, really? Well, maybe I need to look into that. I was in the community at the time, and I basically remember the discussion being, um, like, well, he uses our music in his streams, but he also gives it good publicity, so I don't know, I guess it's fine. Maybe it's not anymore. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit. I wasn't overly fond of Total Biscuit towards the end, mostly because he was a gamergator, and I worked in the video game industry at the time, and yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Gamergate support, especially as it was hurting people around me. Um, but yeah, it is sad that he passed away. I agree. I'm not going to be tiny for long. Done randomly. We're going big. We're bringing these ideas to the masses. Okay. Yeah, William of Orange. I would argue that the people holding back change that benefits a lot of people, though, are largely doing it out of bad reasons and generally not good people. Ooh, I'm sorry about that, BD. That sounds, very uncomfortable. Oh, dang. I'm also a history, arts, and English literature major from university. True, there were plenty of smart people. Though I do need to caution everybody when they look at fascists. The Nazis were also bumbling dipshits. So, like, their whole persona of being like really a well-oiled military machine largely is a fragment of like their propaganda workshops. Riverboat jackboot. True. Well, no, yeah. Like, oftentimes change is for the better and not for the worse. Conservatives tend to be the ones who want to change things for the worse. I'm in favor of changes that are good, and I'm not in favor of changes that are bad. You know, they make William of Orange. They make a pill for that. Um, Nazis were spread out. Higher up, they were cutthroat. I mean, I even think like a lot of the higher ups were pretty small-brained. Oh, they weren't all stupid. There were some things that they did well. But like this fiction of like it being like this well-oiled machine with shiny boots and like brilliant minds, like no. I mean, I guess that's good that they're stopping bad changes, but I would like it if they weren't stopping good changes too. Like that as part of the whole problem with like our healthcare system right now. Like we currently have the conservative healthcare plan and it's terrible. I mean, but they don't have to be slow and gradual is the thing. You can make good changes that are done relatively rapidly. For example, the New Deal was a relatively rapid change for the better that entered America into a new era of prosperity. You can do change quickly, that's good. I mean, I'd argue that there are plenty of bad proposals that passed about what we do eat rather than what we should eat. Like, how we now have, like, corn syrup in everything as a sugar substitute, largely as a gift to the corn lobby. It's not healthy for us at all. True. It doesn't have to be far-right capitalism. There are better ways to do things. Yeah, that's true, Mudvayne. Slow and gradual gives opposition more time to fearmonger about it. It depends. There are I believe that there are fast changes that can be made in smart ways. Fast change doesn't mean unthinking and without a plan for the transition. Yeah, I think we're largely saying something similar before 5.3D. You know, I'm not an economist, so I'm not entirely sure how to answer you. But I think that there are ways that you can transition the market quickly in a way that doesn't cause shock to the markets. Well, what do you conservatives often mean something very different when they're talking about societal stability. So what do you think that means? Okay, so you mean violent unrest? Well, how would, for example, decommodifying housing lead to 10% of people dying? Like, I guess I'm not entirely sure how these things are connected. Yeah, William of Orange is a newcomer. I am a conservative family. It's a really unfortunate human centipede like situation. I am the state. But like, too rapid change in what? Like that's my question. Like, what, to what extent? Can you give me an example of what is too rapid change, and like, does that apply to everything? Or does it just apply to some things? Well, like, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, how, for example, how does decommodifying housing, like, when you provide housing to the lowest income bracket of society, how does that lead to social unrest? Because if you don't have an answer for that, then I have to like question your premise. Okay, but what about like providing everyone with healthcare? Yeah, there would have to be like a transition period of probably about 5 years. Okay, but your argument is that you can never try to do rapid change because it will inevitably lead to crazy division and social unrest. And I just have to I want to question the foundations of that, like, where are you getting that idea from? True. True. Our economy is reliant on securities and blowing people up for their oil. True. True. Well, yeah, I understand that you don't like rapid change, but I want to know where you're getting this idea from. Because there have been rapid changes in history that have been good things, or generally improved society. The Industrial Revolution, for one. Civil rights, that's another good one. I would say BD that, like, if healthcare transitions to like a Medicare for all system, I mean, yeah, the like that industry, obviously the stocks and revenue would fall, but I think overall it'd be a net benefit for the like rest of society, because then you have you don't have to have companies covering workers' health insurance. So I think that that would actually be a good thing. Um, Obviously, like the economy is going to take a hit, but I think the benefits outweigh the negatives. If you do it over like a course of like 5 years, so that there's a transition period. Okay, you wouldn't call the Industrial Revolution governmental change. Okay. Um, Civil rights, women's suffrage. You need to find a way to gradually leverage the components out of the market. So make components of healthcare free. No, 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 no. I just think that for people who are going to get healthcare, it should be free at point of service, and that should be that. Well, you transition by slowly putting different age groups into that free bracket until everyone's in it. Like that's how you would do transitioning. And you would like slowly like probably have a system by which those private companies are absorbed by the government, so that like the administration and like you have people to run all of the new people going into the system. But you're also able to consolidate to a degree. Like you can get rid of the advertising people. They'll be fine. They'll find new jobs in America. There's always people who advertise things. Yeah. Do, 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 do. True, there is a like a relationship between cosmetic things and mental health. Um, I would probably say there has to be some sort of cutoff if it's like a completely optional surgery. I'm not really sure where that line should be. I'd probably defer to health and mental health professionals on that one. If there was a federal healthcare system, who would run it and how? I mean, I would imagine it would just be run by a massive expansion to like Medicaid or Medicare, rather. Like we already have that. We could probably just fuse like the VA and Medicare. Just fuse those two systems together and then cover everybody. And it would probably be staffed by a lot of the people who formerly worked in private healthcare. I believe that there's like an entire like in the Medicare for all like legislation, there's like entire plans for how to effectively transition people out of the private industry and into government positions or to give them pensions, etc. And that would actually save us more money than the system we currently have. American veterans have NHS and free college. I can see a lot of us bitching once something left wing passes because we like to feel special. Yeah, I'm just curious who's in control of those hospitals though. The legislator? Sure. I mean, I would assume the people in charge of the hospitals are probably hospital administrators who like have some connection with the social Medicare system. I would imagine like legislatures would have control over how Medicare is run. No, but if they are public hospitals, who runs them and their funding? Well, I mean, not all hospitals would necessarily become public. Like there would probably still be private hospitals, but public hospitals, um, yeah. I mean, people could. The idea is you could go to any hospital and have like that taken care of, but where hospitals get funding might be a different concern entirely. You know. Like, hospitals would probably largely still get the money that they get right now. Isn't the funding... Well, you realize, like, the funding would be Americans paying into one centralized pot, right? So we would still be paying taxes, but those taxes would increase slightly to cover health insurance for everybody in the country. So it would be a massive health insurance thing, but there's only one company, and that company is then able to have a massively reduced price because it's not operating for a profit. It's it's operating just on like the government's terms, and then hospitals would be compensated for operations and treatment, etc., by the government, which could then also like negotiate with drug companies, negotiate with hospitals for like the costs of different procedures, etc. It would be a net benefit, to be honest, across a multitude of different areas. Well, I mean, honestly, I'm not afraid of something like that being done away with once it passes, because like Republicans have been trying for like 60 years to get rid of Social Security or cut Social Security, and like there are not really not a whole lot of popular support behind politicians who want to cut Social Security. There's just not a whole lot there for people. It turns out when in a democracy, or a representative democracy anyway, when people really like social programs, those programs become very hard to tamper with. So I think once people do get privatized, or sorry, like this public health care, they're not going to want to go back, because why would you want to pay more for worse health care? So I don't think, even if like Republicans win after it passes, I don't think that would be a... I mean, obviously they would be like threatening to cut it, but I think that would be such an unpopular decision that they wouldn't do it. Um, kind of like how in Canada, for example, people don't like like their Conservative Party doesn't even threaten to cut healthcare ever, because it's such an overwhelmingly popular program. It's like political suicide to do so. Um, it's dynamically paid through, yeah, single payer and nonprofit. And also, like, it's just more economically efficient because, like, you're not paying for, like, advertising or, like, lobbying or anything like that. You're not operating for a profit, so it saves a ton of money in a bunch of different ways. While also consolidating operations. It's a good